10 years before Air Jordans, I learned to fly. It's like the way brothers pimp walk to a basketball hoop with a pumped up ball and throw a few shots, hitting each one effortlessly. Like a car idling before a drag race, there's an invitation, perhaps even a threat, in the way their sneakers soft shoe the pavement and the ball rolls around in their hands. As double Dutch girls, we had our own prance. 3 of us and a couple of ropes. It had to be at least 3 girls, 2 to turn, 1 to jump. We knew the corners where you could start a good game. Like guys going up for a layup, we started turning nice and slow. Before jumping in, we would rock back and forth, rocking our knees in order to propel ourselves forward, rocking our hips just to show how cute we were. It wasn't a question of whether we'd make it in. We'd conquered that years before. The challenge was to prove how long we could jump. The tricks we would do, pop-ups, mambo, around the world, were just for show, just to work the other girls' nerves. The real feat was longevity. So when we picked the corner where we were going to double Dutch, we came with ropes and patience. There is a space between the concrete and heaven where the air is sweeter and your heart beats faster. You drop down and then you jump up again and you do it over and over until the rope catches on your foot or your mother calls you home. You keep your arms to your sides out of the way so they don't get tangled in the rope. Your legs feel powerful and heavy as they beat the ground. When you mambo back and forth, it's like dancing. When you do around the world, it's like a ballet dancer's pirouette. In the rope, if you're good enough, you can do anything and be anything you want. On my side of the street is where we jumped rope because Drina, who lived by me, had the best rope, and like cattle, we followed the rope. The best kind of jumping rope was telephone wire because it was light yet sturdy, and it hit the sidewalk with a steady rhythm. Tat, tat, tat. The telephone wire that connected your phone to the jack was not long enough. The only way to get telephone rope was from someone who worked for the telephone company. Drina's uncle was a telephone repairman, so she always had rope. The worst kind of rope was the kind you bought in the store. Cloth ropes with red plastic handles that came in plastic packages with pictures of little blonde girls on them. First of all, they were too short. It would take 2 or 3 to make one side of a good double Dutch rope. Second, the ropes were too soft for serious jumping, which only made sense because everybody knew that white girls were no kind of competition when it came to jumping rope. But in a clutch, you could run a soft rope under a hose and get it good and wet to make it heavier. The only problem was keeping it wet. We would split into teams. Only 2 positions, jumper and turner. You had to be good at both. No captain, just Shannon with her big mouth, and Lisa, who really couldn't jump, but talked a lot of junk. When 2 people turning and 1 person jumping and everybody else sitting around waiting for their turn, it wasn't hard to start a fight. Pick your feet up. Pick your feet up. I hear you. Well, then act like it. You just mind your business, okay? Sometimes when I was jumping, I would catch someone on my team yanking the rope so she could call a timeout. Usually it was Drina because it was her rope and she thought that meant she didn't have to play fair. Start over. Janine is turning double-handed, Drina would say. To us, double-handed was something like being crippled or blind. When a double-handed person turned, the ropes would hit against each other, spiraling in lopsided arcs. It not only messed up our jumping, it looked ugly, shaky, and uneven. A good double Dutch rope looked like a wire egg beater in motion. It's okay, it's fine, I would say. Drina wouldn't be swayed. Veronica, don't try to cover up. Everybody on the block knows Janine is double-handed. I am not, Janine would mumble. If there wasn't someone to take Janine's place, Drina would wrap up the rope and declare the game over. Then we'd go back to her house and watch TV. Drina was the only girl on the block to have her own room, plus a canopy bed, a dressing table, a TV, and a stereo. Staring blankly at Gilligan's Island, I would ask Drina, "Why'd you mess up the game? You know Janine is not double-handed." She would roll her eyes. "I'm so sick of those girls. I was just trying to get us out of there." But other times, she would stick to her story and refuse to budge. "You know that girl is double-handed. Shut up and pass the munchos." We'd meet at about 3:30 after we changed from our school clothes into our play clothes. Then we'd jump until the parents started coming home. Most of our parents worked 9 to 5 in Manhattan, and it took them about an hour to get home. We knew it was coming up on 6 o'clock when we saw the first grown-up in business clothes walking down the hill from the Utica Avenue bus stop. Sometimes a grown-up woman, dressed in the stockings and sneakers that all our mothers wore for the long commute home, would jump in, handbag and all, just to show us what she could do. She usually couldn't jump for very long. These women had no intention of sweating their straightened hair into kinkiness anyway, but we always gave them props for being able to get down. Secretly, I loved the way they clutched their chests, as if bras were useless in double dutch, and the way their bosoms rose and fell in the up and down rhythm of the rope. I longed for the day I would jump double dutch and have something round and soft to hang on to. Around this time, I would start looking out for my mother. I could usually spot her from 2 blocks away. In the spring, she wore her tan raincoat. In the fall, she wore the same raincoat with the liner buttoned underneath. I knew the purses she carried and the way she walked. If I hadn't made up my bed or if I was jumping in my good school clothes, I could usually dash into the house before she got there and do what I was supposed to do. If I was not in trouble, I'd try to make my turn last long enough so that my mother could see me jump. "Wait, Mom, watch me jump," I would say, even though I knew she'd say no. "I've got to start dinner," she'd say. "And I've seen you jump before." "But I've learned a new trick." I'd try not to sound like a baby in front of my friends. But she wouldn't even turn around. She'd be carrying a plastic shopping bag that held her work shoes and the daily news. "Some other time," she'd say, closing the gate behind her. There's so much I can do. So much stuff she doesn't know. But it's always some other time with her. Here's what I wish she knew. There's a space between the 2 ropes where nothing is better than being a black girl. The helix encircles you and protects you, and there you are strong. I wish she'd let me show her. I could teach her how it feels.